more on the Apple Watch and health, and why Internet Explorer continues to haunt the internet. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Zocdoc. Find local doctors who take your insurance. Learn more at Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is a third and final part of a three-part MacVoices live conversation. This time we wrap up our discussion of the Apple Watch and its health benefits and what it all can mean for you, and then look at the problem of Internet Explorer and, even though dead, why it continues to haunt the internet and what that says about corporate executives and corporate IT. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
Definitely.
Mark, you had something you wanted to add.
That's what you all got out of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Okay, yeah. So about the Apple Watch, there is, they didn't do it this year, but certainly for the past 2 or 3 years, they would have announcements about new studies and they were doing, and how new APIs, new functionality in the watch was enabling them to do other more broad-based studies. Well, there's a study now there. There's an app called Intuition that you can download, and what they're looking to do for screening to populate people, it's a 2-year program. And basically what they want to do is they want to track your exercise and physical activity level and try to correlate that with mental fitness and cognitive decline. And I started this, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, maybe. And, you can either use the existing Apple Watch you have, or they'll send everybody who comes in an Apple Watch SE, and you get pulsed periodically to do various exercises. Some of the early ones, they focus on memory, and they send you a link and you do it on your Mac or an iPad, where they'll basically go through a series of exercises where they'll show you 5 or 6 different shapes, and they have different variations in terms of segments and colors. And then they'll test your recall, or they'll test your ability to remember seeing them in pairs, or they'll send you a sequence and then they'll take you on a bunch of other exercises. And then, 15 or 20 minutes later, they'll test your recall of stuff you saw early on in the exercise. So, and then they'll ask, send you surveys, just checking on your physical activity level and offering you, have you met your 7-day stand goal activity or your 7-day move goal activity? So they're building a huge database where actually seeing some of these things, I was thinking, how are they going to measure cognitive activity? Are they going to give me a paragraph and have me read it or something? But when you see it and go through it, you can realize, this really is parsing, or probing and measuring your ability to see patterns and remember patterns and see differences between patterns. So it is, accessing and measuring your cognitive activity. So I was speaking to a friend of mine at the end of last week, and he was interested. So I sent him the thing, and it's Intuition app. You can download it for your phone or go to the website. To the best of my knowledge, as of last week, it looks like they were still enrolling people into the program. So any of the listeners or panel here, it's a great clinical trial, clinical experiment that all it takes is a little bit of your time.
Do they take the watch back if you're not moving or thinking much?
That's Warren. That's a great question. If as you do different exercises and things, you accumulate enough points. Obviously, they don't want the watch back. They hold it out there as an incentive to keep the watch. And if you accumulate enough to keep the watch, I think they also say they'll give you a $240 gift card. Oh, so they're giving people a combination of incentives to participate and to complete it. unlike a lot of these, enter here for a chance to win a $5 Starbucks gift card as well.
So it doesn't.
I'm sorry, I'm too busy for an unknown return, on that. Versus, I'll spend time, once a month, and I know what the return is.
That's good. So the study encourages you to move, and it's not just a study, but it wants you to try to exercise and kind of get motivated with it.
So I must admit, I pay more attention to warnings from my Move app than I do from that app itself. I know twice it's said, we want you to meet your can you meet 4-day stand goal this week, if so you can get so many number of points, which is how they sort of gamify it to incent people to be able to get the free watch at the end of the study plus the gift card. So I'm much more dialed into those other things, as some of the other panel here have laughed at me when I had to leave early because my watch is telling me it's time to stand up. But I've met my stand goals for today, so I'm fine to stay here and talk for a while.
So why do I feel like Mark's cognitive results, they go bounce along here, and then Tuesday nights they just dip and then come back up?
There's a pattern.
Yeah, there's a pretty obvious pattern.
I just get happy when my watch congratulates me for standing up.
Yeah. One other thing that I'm sorry, I could not leave this one alone. Internet Explorer, Microsoft abandoned support for Internet Explorer this week. And yet, I'm throwing an article from Engadget into the chat rooms. According to this article, report reveals half of Japan's businesses had yet to ditch Internet Explorer. Mm-hmm. This just seems, and I still know companies that same deal. That they have not.
Legacy.
In fact, they require Internet Explorer.
I work a help desk, and Internet Explorer Death Day was not fun. So
I will also add a company like SAP. I was publicly mentioned that they cannot abandon Internet Explorer. So you're going to have companies like that just like what they did when they were allowing companies to keep Windows XP for all those years and have to pay that exorbitant amount of extended support that Microsoft was happily to take the cash that they were going to give them to do this. Companies they're slow on getting their systems set. There's companies out there who just have systems that are 20 plus years old. Some are running on VAX from digital equipment from years and years ago. There's systems running on all kinds of crazy stuff that they just don't get the resources in place because they don't want to invest in IT to have to reinvent the wheel because the system that they use works. So it needs to have Internet Explorer as its backbone. Well, Warren can attest to this for his support because, now Microsoft Edge is supposedly going to allow you to have a system where it'll be in IE mode. So you can...
we turned that on, and it doesn't always work either.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
They have an IE mode that supposedly was going to work, and but we're going to run into the same issue. What's that?
And it's also the I don't know if you saw it, but the way they put it on there is crazy too. You have to add the sites that you want to add to it. It said something about it only lasts for 30 days. That you have to go back in and do it again. So
it's
weird.
But I don't know how your company's a little smaller probably than mine, but I know companies are able to. I don't know. I'm sorry if it is or not. I might be wrong, but
it's huge. Just like 30.
But some of these companies have internal IT. They're using whether it be Active Directory, whether it be group policy. Trying to. It's usually group policy. That's going to push a policy in and say, hey, you have to. That's how we had it set up. That's how I had it set up before. Where we would have a site and it would redirect it to Internet Explorer if you were to open it in Google Chrome, let's say. So this is the same thing that needs to happen is the fact that when someone goes they go Microsoft Edge right away when they open it, it's supposed to go right into IE mode, and group policy should send a policy to Edge in order to tell it to do that. It's not like like you going in manually say, oh yeah, do this site, do this site, do this site. There's ways of doing it, but it doesn't work foolproof. It's a crapshoot, and Warren and I can both attest that we've dealt with support calls that, hey, I'm trying to get to this site and it's not working. I was in Internet Explorer, and
But telling somebody that Internet Explorer is dead every day is the running
Yes.
joke right now
It
in our
is.
company because it's
Oh yeah, I sent out
just like-
memos
yeah.
and said, "Oh, what am I going to do now? Oh my God! Oh,
somebody posted on
Use
Facebook.
something else.
Somebody posted on Facebook that what they say. My mom said my mom told me that she heard Internet Explorer's gone away, and she's like, how can people get on the internet now?
yeah,
How
People
will
don't know.
get
They
a
just
download Firefox if they can't.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah."
right.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff and Jim, I mean, am I being a bit radical when I say that if you find yourself in this situation, that your CTO should be fired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
In
Chuck,
some
it
cases-
may go deeper than that. It may not. Sorry, Jeff. Go on.
It's why thank you. And I have a feeling I'm heading down the same path that you were, Mark. In some cases, yeah, your CTO probably needs to have either a stern talking to or an opportunity to explore positions with other companies. But there are a lot of companies that have built their infrastructure on core functionality that is only Internet Explorer. And 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that was okay. I mean, that was just a thing. And at that point, you wouldn't be thinking out to 2022 thinking, well, is this still going to be a supported core technology? And if not, how do we plan for that future? That's not how it works. You build the thing that you need, and then if you don't need to change it, then you don't. And so you have companies that have this framework, and Dave was talking about this also. It's part of the foundation of what actually makes what they have work, and they can't just change it. It would be like starting over.
Yeah, but a lot of people also with these systems are planning or have been planning to retire them forever, and that's usually what their rationale is about not doing much about the change in IE is, they'll tell you, like, at least in my company is we have one or two systems that like died that day, 2 days ago. So we had to scurry. And, you ask both of those teams are like, yeah, we were really hoping this software backend thing that we're using wouldn't be here now. But here we are. And
Hope and pray, but it never happens.
And then what if it's embedded? It's
gonna
a piece of
disagree.
core equipment that you just can't stop using because the company that made it doesn't exist. Therefore, you literally cannot replace it. What do you do?
Well, it happens all the time. I mean, there's integrator companies out there that their only job is to take your data from this old thing and put it into this new thing, and that's what they'll try to do. Most software companies that you're going to, their job is going to be to try to figure out how to get it out of whatever you got into their new system, and it doesn't always work.
And more and more are trying to come up with virtualization. Something like I just mentioned, DAX and digital equipment. You're going to pay a tech who hasn't supported it in 20 years hundreds of thousands of dollars to support it, where you could just virtualize it. But again, you're virtualizing something that's 20 plus years old, and it's bound to not work. And
they're all trying to go to web-based apps anyways at this point.
Exactly.
I mean, they're all trying to get off it. It's just plans get delayed.
That's the problem in IT.
Jim, you were going to say that you disagreed?
I disagree that it was okay to write specifically for Internet Explorer 15 years ago or at any time. I think that was
That's a fair statement.
Huh?
Yeah, at the time, yep.
That was a poor idea.
But it happened.
But
it happened.
It happened all the time.
And those are the people that needed to be fired. Although
But it's too late.
They're way retired.
Yeah, of course. I mean, technical debt, that's something that's happened. But
well, so many of these companies are also they're run by accountants, and in changing platforms or making stuff that's multi-platform it's very expensive.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Let Jim get his point in.
And these people lock themselves into a corner at that point, assuming that Microsoft was always going to be, the be all and end all, and also that Microsoft would never drop support for these things, so they locked themselves into that instead of, building to standards.
Weren't we just talking about the new version of Firefox a couple weeks back and something?
This is kind of the same thing as, there was a lot of stuff built for Flash.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Zocdoc. Find doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. Before you book any brunch, you pore over lists and lists of reviews. So why not do the same thing when you're booking a doctor's appointment? With Zocdoc, you can see real, verified patient reviews to help find the right doctor in your network and in your neighborhood. After all, finding the right doctor is just as, if not more important, than finding the right plate of Eggs Benedict. Zocdoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. On Zocdoc, you can find every specialist under the sun. Whether you're trying to straighten those teeth, fix an achy back, get that mole checked out, or anything else, Zocdoc has you covered. Find and review local doctors. Read verified patient reviews from real people who made real appointments. Now, when you walk into that doctor's office, you're all set to see someone in your network who gets you. Go to Zocdoc.com/MacVoices and download the Zocdoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's Zocdoc, ZocDoc.com/MacVoices. Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Zocdoc for supporting this week's MacVoices.
But anyway, I think the issue is that some of this is some of those CTOs may have been the hotshot kid who wrote some VBA or ActiveX macros to plug into Excel and the Access database back 15, 18, 22 or 23.719 years ago, and just slow cancerous growth. They got more and more embedded and more hooked into it. And
does that stuff even still work in current versions of? Internet Explorer.
No,
is not.
I don't know.
IE6.
I thought. Yeah, I was going to say IE6. There's a lot of companies that haven't moved past that. As well as XP, as I think Dave Ginsburg was saying. So the thing is. Ultimately, for every company, it's an expense. And incrementally, should we update that, or should we go get this other new network protection software and intrusion detection and all these other things? So there's a lot of so-called technology debt out there that a lot of companies have, and instead of condemning them and saying they're stupid or lazy, it's look at it differently. It's a Darwinian struggle, and one of the big trends 2 years ago was with COVID was the enabling digitalization of digital workflows for the enterprise, and it may take something dire like that or next particular threat that gives these some of these companies the kick in the head or the kick in the pants to to slowly make these changes. But until then, it's unfortunate. It's a sad but sorry but very complex situation.
I don't think it's a matter of somebody being lazy. I think it's a matter of the fact of getting enough resources to find someone or some people to convert systems that are that aged. That's where I think in enterprise, that's where a challenge is for many companies. You got these old systems that work. They don't want to change it. It works for a reason. Well, they have to adapt. You go back to Y2K, all this, everybody freaking out when that happened, and most stuff worked fine, but a lot of stuff didn't, and they they panicked and had to get things done. Well, we're at this juncture here because the internet grew around Internet Explorer all these years. It's 27 years in existence. Well, technology changes, and companies have to change with it, and that's all there is to it.
I guess the thing that bothers me the most, though, is that a lot of this we're talking about security. I mean, it's one thing to have functions that work, but the security, the world we live in now with ransomware and all the cyber attacks, I can't give anybody a pass on this, because Microsoft, to their credit, and I don't give Microsoft credit often, but to their credit, they've telegraphed this for a long time. And they've put it back and pushed it back and pushed it back, and now they finally said, no, enough. And frankly, in my personal opinion, I think that it may have to do with they don't want to be joined in the lawsuits that are going to inevitably come. Because if my personal information gets compromised by someone who is still requiring Internet Explorer to access their website or access their services, I have no sympathy for them. And I think they should be beat on.
Should I worry about companies suing them for not being able to use the browser, for all these companies investing all this money to continue on as it is too? Because their problem, the reason why they kept resisting is obviously because of what we're talking about, all these systems that still use IE. And, they got to worry about lawsuits, I guess that, but I guess I don't know how it's going to work.
Well, at the end of the day, we no longer support IE, and here's a link to download Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Brave, Edge. What am I missing?
Opera.
Yeah. Here are a whole bunch
I'm not talking about
other options.
User. I'm talking about the companies with the systems that only work on IE, like we were talking about before. So, the company, Microsoft says to these big companies, SAP, IE is going away. We need it to go away. They're pushing back, obviously, because SAP is like, please, no, we know. And that's why those talks are happening. And that's why they kept being pushed back. And now that's why SAP is paying God knows how much to continue using it until they could figure out not how to use it.
And I would want a whole lot of waivers signed in blood, Jeff, we're almost at time, but I want to bring up something you put in the chat room, and that's Kubernetes.
Oh, yes. So, for decades, I guess at this point, literally decades, you talked about IE as the core of all these web technologies that companies are using. And the buzz phrase that we've been seeing, or buzzword we've been seeing for the past at least couple of years, is Kubernetes. And that's the idea of everything, every app, every service, data management, all of that can be like digital containers on a server and managed that way. And then you have like building blocks to put together the customized services that your company needs internally and for your customers. And that's the idea. Warren, sometimes I love you. Warren's comment in our private chat sounds like Scientology, and and for some people, I think that's a totally appropriate take. Some people are looking at this like this is the ultimate, and you need to go 100% into Kubernetes. And if you don't, then the future of your entire company is doomed.
Well, Jeff, how many emails do you get? I probably at this late stage, I probably get one or two a year. Somebody asking for help recovering or converting or doing something to an AppleWorks database.
Okay. Yeah.
An Apple II. This is an Apple II product for the younger folks out there who don't know, and it's like, what am I supposed to say to you except go to your local garage sale and see if you can buy an Apple II that might still boot up and might still have a copy of AppleWorks, and then for heaven's sake, export it as quick as you can.
My advice actually is for people to go to Kansas Fest. Take your discs and go to Kansas Fest.
Good idea.
Because there's going to be the people there that have the vintage machines running the software that you need to get your data onto something else. And you'll also feel right at home because these people are using computers that are as old as yours.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to say things like, "Oh, Claris works. Oh, yeah."
They're as old as Chuck's grandfather.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. I was a little worried with where you were going with that.
Chuck, to answer your question, I get that email more than twice a year.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we've had this discussion too, about aging technology and all. If it still does what you need it to do, that's great. But there are certain potential costs associated with it, especially if you are connecting to the internet. So,
Chuck, the idea that it does what you need it to do, I think for some people is actually a case of putting on blinders, because they can make the application do a thing that they've always made it do. That's not the same as this software in the system do what I need, because what they actually need goes beyond I can type something into a ClarisWorks file. It's now I need to be able to take this content, share it with other people, and have them be able to read it and open it and edit it. Okay, what you're using doesn't actually do that. It does not meet your needs.
There you go. Guys, we were going to get to the Baltimore Apple Store unionization, but we're going to save that for next week, just because this has been a great discussion about some things that I thought were going to go 10 minutes, and it ended up being a lot of great discussion. Mark just moved over to Stonehenge for reasons that are unclear.
I think those reasons are very clear.
It's the longest day of the year today.
God, he is just a magician with the backgrounds.
Your ruins us.
Wow. All right, let's go around the room, let folks know where they can find you, and we'll get out of here. So I'm going to keep the order and give Jim Ray the first of the last words. Jim, great to have you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's see, and I'm supposed to say where you can find me. So you can find me at provue.com, provue.com. You can find me on Twitter at ProViewGem. And also, people watching live, you can't find me here yet, but by the time this comes out, there'll be another place you can find my software, at least, which is at Summerfest 2022. Some of you know there's a group of independent software Mac developers that get together twice a year and do a promotion, Winterfest and then Summerfest. And that's supposed to start Thursday, June 23rd and go through the 12th. And the website is artisanalsoftwarefestival.com. So
I see you on there.
There's always some great deals there. Here, I'll put that in the link in the YouTube chat.
No 2022 yet. It's still 2021.
Yeah, I looked it up earlier today, and he hasn't updated it yet. But I know that most people will be seeing or hearing this later when it will probably already be running.
Good.
And in the past, I've said, "Oh, well, it has been going on." So this time, I actually let's get it in ahead of time.
Still Winterfest.
Yeah, but I tell you, just judging by what's there now, there's some great pieces of software here. So I will make sure that link gets in the show notes, and you should definitely go check it out. There, I see several pieces here that I already own and use, and they're top notch.
I don't know what the lineup. It's usually fairly constant, but it won't be exactly the same. That's what that is. But it's usually the same. More or less the similar group of people. Some people come and go around the edges, but it's always great stuff. I've owned most of the stuff myself.
Good deal.
And of course, Panorama is the best thing on there.
Yeah, of course. That goes without saying. Thank you, Jim. Great to have you. Mr. David Ginsburg, where can folks find you other than sweating in Chicago?
They can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. And you can also find us on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DaveG65. I'm on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays. I am also on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks a lot, Chuck.
Excellent. Thank you. Jeff Gamet, I never see enough of you. Where can folks find you?
Same, Chuck. Like I sit around during the day and I'm like, that Chuck is so dreamy. I want to see more. And now here we are.
Yeah, it's a burden I bear.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so you can find me in a Kubernetes container that Dave just spun up. And when I'm not in that, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Gamet in both. YouTube.com/Gamet for my occasional videos. Here with all of you most Tuesdays, most Thursdays with Dave on In Touch with iOS. Also, The Big Show and The Mac Show. And the Context Machine with Brian Chaffin, because we can't get enough of each other. And so now we make all of you pay for that.
Ooh.
Did I hit everything? I think that's probably enough for now.
I think so. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Mr. Guy Serle. No longer looking like a lightning connector.
No, I'm back.
Folks, you gained weight.
It looks exactly like a lightning connector.
You had to be there.
Yeah.
For it to make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
You can send me email, guy@mymac.com or podcast@vertshark.com. Vertshark.com is where you can see all of the odds and all of the vids. The mymac.com podcast. We are very slowly coming up on our 900th episode, which we're going to do $8.99 next weekend. And then it won't be till probably sometime in July before we get to the actual 900th show. Let's see, VertShark and Mac Parrot over on the Twitters, and Guy's Daily Drive, where I drive in my car and record because I can. And I think that's about it.
But it's not muted.
Okay. As if that's not enough.
Yeah.
As if not enough. Thank you, Guy. Mr. Mark Fuccio. He started the show out one place, and now he's at the summer solstice. Where can folks find you other than the summer solstice at Stonehenge?
That may be soon to be Elon Musk company Twitter at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, or using the same name at LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you. Couldn't leave the Elon thing out, could you? Last but absolutely not least, Mr. Warren Sklar. Warren, I think you should have your wife on the show just so that we know she's real.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. We're good. I could be hopefully podcasting here and there when I can. Dave, I should be good for Thursday next week. Looks a little fuzzy. See how it goes. Facebook Back to the Future is always fun for Dale. That's about it. Thanks for having me.
Folks, this is MacVoices Live. We do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever that time that is, wherever you are. And we'd love to have you join us in the chat room. And I definitely want to thank the chat room. They were a little quiet tonight, but they were still there and paying attention, and we always appreciate it. What can I tell you? This is what we do every Tuesday night, and we have a great time doing it. We'd love to have you join us. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.